Hey you guys, it's Dani, and welcome to our March flashback. So I'm doing this a little late. It's getting done, right? I love doing these, but the time just got away from me. End of March, early April has been a whole blur. Just a whole blur. I released Pear Tree Court. It sold out. Thank you guys so much. Oh my god. For those of you who got their copy, but the other ones are on their way. I think they should be here today. So that's being restocked, but I had to do that whole thing. And so it was silence, but good silence, right? But we're back. Let's talk about March. So why don't we dive in directly to decks? What are the decks that I used in March? I really liked my paired decks this month. I mean, it was March. Whatever. You know what I mean. Let's not split hairs. Okay. I used a really fun pair, and it was Ghost and Spirits Tarot. I had to go back down because I'm always saying like Spirit Tarot, but it's Ghosts and Spirit Tarot along with my Fairies Oracle. You guys, I was really impressed by Ghost and Spirits. I had never seen it. This is not a new deck by any means, but I had not seen this. And so I found it when I came across a video that Dawn Michelle at Boho Tarot was doing. And I was like, this looks really interesting. And so I snagged it maybe in January or February. And so I just felt so drawn to use it in March. And I loved it. I really liked using it with the guidebook because the guidebook has the story of the ghost, the spirit, the concept, right, of what the card is. There is a kind of description of like who's on the card. So just for example, and then they have this beautiful extra card, which I love that artwork. This is Lisa Hunt. Yes, Lisa Hunt. So like the Queen of Swords is the Banshee, King of Swords, Headless Horseman. Let's see. Well, that one doesn't have anything on it. Okay, the Tower is the Fall of the House of Usher. And so there's a whole write-up about it. Talks about Edgar Allan Poe's horror story and talks about the culture that it came from, if that's the case, or the legend that it came from. I was just highly impressed. Now, the backs are a little much because I don't find they fit the feel and like the depth and almost eeriness that the ghosts on the front. I mean, look at the detail of these images. To just have like little ghosts on the back, I was like, what? But listen, I'm not here to look at the backs, right? I'm worried about the fronts. So I really did enjoy this, and it paired beautifully with my Fairies Oracle. And with this Fairies Oracle, this is one that I put all the meanings on the faces of the cards, just so I didn't have to rely on the guidebook as much anymore, because I always love to read about them. But I was like, you know what? I want to put the keywords on there so they just feel more accessible. So I did that about a year or so ago and never looked back. I love it. So anyway, they made a fantastic pair. I found that they because they have that like other realm vibe for both of them, it felt really in depth and I really enjoyed it. I believe they had a really great spread in this book as well, because I love doing the spreads that come with the decks. Like, it's just the thing. I want to explore them. You know what I mean? They did. Okay, yeah. Realm of the Spirits 5-card spread. So it is a present, past, future, joy, and fear. which I really liked because they had some really great questions in them. So just for example, one, spirit of the present. Where are you right now? What inspires you? What concerns do you have? What, if anything, is missing from your life? So I felt like it gave you kind of more than one option for this spread, right? Or you could pull one for every question because it's your deck. You can do what you want, right? So anyway, it was a really, really good spread that they had with it. I really enjoyed it. So that was my first one. My second pairing for March were these two. So the Black Lily Tarot and the Hedge Witch Botanical Oracle. Now I had the indie version, right? Which didn't have anything on the front. It was just the picture and then everything was on the back. So I was able to get my hands on the mass market edition. And so I used it right away. And I used it with this Black Lily Tarot and I loved it. I absolutely loved it, especially because the Black Lily has these big white borders. So when they kind of set there, the dynamic of like the bigger botanical with the smaller card, they just really flowed well together. I mean, look at that. Oh, with the magic. I really loved it. Especially we have this big lily on the back. They just vibe really well together, and I just thought that it was a fun little pair. I did a little drawing of it because I just loved the look, right? I don't know, there was something about it. I enjoyed this pairing so much. But this Black Lily Tarot shot up in the ranks. Like, I really like this little tarot. And I heard about it when Lisa was doing, I think it was a Say Yes to the Deck, where she talked about the Black Lily, because I was really surprised that she was even considering this deck. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, yeah, this is a deck that's way for me. And it really was. I've been enjoying it. I love the artwork. It's that imperfect style. Like, I really like that. The proportions are off and the colors can get muddy and like splashy, and I don't know, I really love it. I love it. Look at that. Look at that. It reminds me of like those adventure novels, right? That had these like weird drawings and like mystery novels from back in the day. That's what it reminds me of. And I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. So by far, this was probably my favorite pairing. I used it a lot. I used it a lot. So on to my last deck that I used this month. That one was Tarot of the Divine Masculine, The Gate to the Sacred Garden. This is by Philip and Marco Vasich. I hope I'm saying that right. Marco reached out and asked me if I would love to do a review for them and check out the deck, and I was like, yes, right away. So I have that review coming out probably either later this week or early next week. I thoroughly enjoyed using this one. Now, I paired it with a couple of different things, but it wasn't like set for the month. I was just kind of like, testing it out. But you guys, oh my god, the images, the colors, the whole style. I have it put back in order specifically for my review, but y'all, I can't speak highly enough of this deck. I knew I was going to like it because I felt like I had that kind of spot missing or lacking in my scope of tarot, right? I have like 2, maybe 3 that I feel like are on the more masculine side or touch into that masculine setting that I'm trying to get to, right? That kind of feels comfortable. When I tell you, for being a divine masculine, it is so well balanced. And I know I'm getting in. You can definitely go watch the review. I'm going to probably gush about it throughout. But honestly, I can't speak highly enough. I was so impressed with this deck. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I use it for a lot of stuff. I even have some, we'll move into journals since we're right here, right? In my little tarot journal, I was using that at the beginning of the month, and I just, look at some of these spreads, you guys. Look at some of these spreads. They're just, they felt so thorough in their energy. I don't know if that makes sense, but I really enjoyed those this month. Standout favorites, the Black Lily with the Hedge Witch was chef's kiss. Probably my go-to, like when I'm just kind of sitting here and I'm like, I really want to pull some cards. I've been gravitating toward it even this month. Like, I want to go back. I really liked their energy together. So that's it for decks and a little bit of tarot journaling this month, you guys. Again, I hit the wall at the 15th. I found that I just wasn't doing it as much in there, but I didn't pull as many cards and journal this month as I usually do, or that I have been in the past couple months. Not that I didn't do it, but I definitely didn't do it as much. I found my days were a little bit busy, but I felt drained, more drained than I usually do when I like sit with my cards and I do my journaling extensively. And I noticed that coming into the beginning of April, where I've been journaling a lot more and I've been kind of pulling a little bit more cards for myself and kind of sitting with it. And I've noticed the difference already with journaling versus not journaling, how kind of heavy and weighed down that I feel, and not as, I don't know, like I feel like I have to carry it instead of like just letting it all out right there. So I found that that was a very big difference. And I started a new style of journaling this month. So I'm really excited to talk about that in April because I think it's really helping in a broad sense. So I'm excited about that. So let's move on to the rest of the journaling. So I removed my weekly. It's gone. Weekly is gone. But April, I figured out a better way. Thus far, it's a lot more smooth and I feel more in control. But it's not in my little traveler's notebook. So I have my March here. Of course, I have all my stuff kind of filled, which I always love these. But like I said, I had my weeks. I had to separate them out. I didn't do them at all for March. I just didn't. I did a few sigils in my other one. I have it elsewhere. I don't remember where it's at right at this second. So I don't have it with me. But I did do some sigils at the beginning of the month because that was my 30 day for March. And I really enjoyed doing the sigils, but after a while I was just like, well, I don't have anything that I want to write for it this month, or, you know, I got bogged down, so I didn't keep up with it as much as I thought I would have because it's so simple, you know what I mean? But it just wasn't an exercise that kept my attention, to be honest. But I did get quite a few sigils down at the beginning, and I would do something that I don't normally do, which is I would write sigils on my mirror with just like a kid's marker, a washable marker, or a dry erase marker, like, because I will do that on my altar. I have a little mirror or a little glass set on my altar, and so I would do sigils on there before, but like I started putting them on my mirror in my bathroom, like off to the side where it wasn't really noticeable, or the one that was behind our door. We have a mirror behind our door. So I would like write sigils there. I did some on my shoes, which are no longer there. You can't, I don't think you can see it. Let me check. No, they have been worn off. But I did some sigils on the bottom of my shoes, which was really fun. So I did them in some exciting places, which I thought was really great. But as for a daily practice or something that I do that often, it just wasn't something that I really kept with every single day. but definitely gave me a bunch of really great ideas as far as what I'm using my sigils for. I like thought out of the box a little bit more than I normally do. Like I would slip them into some of the books that I was reading. So like I said, I did quite a few at the beginning of the month and one or two towards the end. But it did make me think a little outside the box when I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing sigils. Listen, I'm trying. But it's working. I'm gaining something every single month. And then the 30-day for April, if you guys haven't seen, is walking out in nature, which is going swimmingly. So I'm really enjoying that for this month. So we'll talk about that in our April flashback. But anyway, the sigils were eye-opening. It definitely, like I said, made me think outside the box. So I'm really glad that I was able to do that. But not something that I feel needs as daily practice in my practice. So there's that. What else, you guys? Oh, do you want to go into books now? Are we want to talk about books? Let's see. So this month for my physical read, I read Art Before Breakfast. This is by Dani Gregory. I had a blast reading this one. It was an easy read. It was a pretty quick read, but it had so much great information and great little exercises in this book. It's definitely about expanding drawing and sketching and creativity, but in easy chunks. Like, he didn't ask you to do anything like wild, you know what I mean, or complicated, or like you have to make sure that you're doing blah. Like, it was like shaking everything loose and really just saying, just draw every day, just do something every day in these moments where you don't think you have enough time, and kind of build these habits. And it really did expand, just like in the idea of the sigils, where it made me think and play with being outside of the box and things that I normally wouldn't do. It was the same for this book. And I loved the imagery in the book. Honestly, it almost has that Black Lily feel, where it's like, it's there. It may not be perfect, but it's like real and raw and, I don't know, unique. And that's the kind of sketching and drawing that I'm doing right now. So I think that's why I've been so drawn to things like the Black Lily. And when I saw the images that were in Art Before Breakfast, I was like, oh, I definitely want this, not only for the exercises and to kind of add these things in and help with my creativity and like just keep it going, right? It was really nice to see these images portrayed in a way that really resonates with me right now. So I was really impressed with this book. I would definitely give it a 4 out of 5 because I think that it's great to spark you, right? And like I said, it was nothing complicated. It was things like, before you eat, draw your breakfast, literally. You know, if you're sitting somewhere or you're between meetings, draw what's in front of you. You don't have to do this masterpiece. It doesn't have to be gorgeous. It can literally be the toast sitting in front of you. So it was just kind of shaking loose the idea that everything has to be grand. Things can just be what they are, and that in itself can be practice, it can be an outlet, it can be creative, and it can be your own. So it was a great book. And then we finished all the other Harry Potter. So we had all the other 4, the Goblet of Fire, the Order of the Phoenix, the Half-Blood Prince, and the Deathly Hallows. Of course, I heart them all. 5 out of 5. Again, it just felt so comforting, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it happens to me every time, so I wasn't surprised. But listening to them on audiobook versus actually physically reading them, which was the first time I've ever done that, it definitely left me kind of sad when it was over. Like, I'm always a little sad, and like the 7th book always makes me cry. Always makes me cry every single time. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter when I know the exact spaces and I'm like, I'm going to cry every time because I'm still so invested in these characters, and it still hits you in these same places. And then to actually hear the story being told this time really hit. But like, it does, and it does it every time, y'all. It doesn't matter if I read it, if I watch the whole series, if I, this time listening to it, I always get like really sad because I'm like, I miss being in that world and in that environment. So there's always a little bit of grief involved when I'm done because it feels like I don't want to leave. I just want to start all over again, So anyway, those went really, really well. And I had to stop myself from being like, well, I'm just going to start it all over again. Slow down, Dani. Go somewhere else. You can come back in a couple of months, So my last book that I read was recommended to me by Thriving Self-Care with Renee. I wanted to make sure that I got that right. They posted on my February flashback about an Alice retelling called Looking Glass Wars. This is by Frank Better. So I was super excited about this, so I immediately downloaded it from my library with their audio system, and I was like, oh yeah, this is happening right now. So I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I really did enjoy it. I know for sure there's 2 more books. I'm on the second one right now, but the first one was really good. It is, of course, Looking Glass Wars. There is this kind of war going on for the Kingdom of Wonderland. So you have the Red Queen, which was versus kind of like the White Queen. So it has the playing card aspect and the chess aspect as the books did. There are a lot of familiar characters. There are some new characters. And there is a kind of, I guess I wouldn't really say a military aspect to it because it's not. But we have like almost like military characters where like there is a rebellion basically. So we kind of see that kind of underworld, and where Alice actually is part of the royalty of Wonderland, but she was taken to the regular world, and it kind of goes along with the story of Lewis Carroll writing Alice in Wonderland. So it was very unique in its concept. I really enjoyed that. But there were aspects of this book where like I wish I could have seen this in action, or I wish I could have seen what was going on, because I felt like the telling of it just didn't, like I didn't grasp it like I wanted to. You know what I mean? So maybe in that aspect I would have been more engrossed in it if I would have like read it myself and gave myself that time to really process some of the things that were going on. But I think that was just a me thing. Like I was like I get it, but I wish I could have saw it. Like I rewound parts just so I could hear them again. So I don't know if my mind just wasn't with it. Because, I mean, of course it's Wonderland, so there are some things that are a bit far-fetched, or there are some things that are a little more complicated or more complex, But all in all, I would definitely give this one a 3 out of 5 because it was a really great story, and I'm continuing on with it, so I'm excited to see where it goes. So those were the books that I read for March. Other than that, you guys, I don't think there was much more going on. Like I said, I had Pear Tree Court come out at the end of March, so I was really busy doing those kind of things, stamping bags and prepping orders. So that took up a lot of time. No complaints there. No complaints at all. I'm just so excited to see it out in the world now. Yay! So anyway, I think that's about it. Hopefully April will be a little bit more exciting. Maybe. We always try to get there, right? So anyway, I will be back very soon. We got a big lineup for the rest of the month, so hopefully I can play some catch up there, and I will talk to you guys very soon. As usual, all of my links are down below. If I talked about anything, those links will be down below as well. And yeah, I will see you guys very soon. I'm sending you all my love. Mwah! Later, Gators.